Hello, this is Gene. I just want to let you know that you might hear my son. He's playing this game he just got today at Best Buy. I look, it's a Sonic, I think, games from yesteryear. So he's playing it right now, so you might hear him clicking on it. He turned down the sound. I just do want a quick video. Yesterday or 2 days ago, I think I put out a thing about dealing with family when you have different opinions that they have. And I've been dealing with one for a while. Not the person I talked about in this last one. I'm talking about an uncle that I have. And personally, I'll say his name. His name is Rick, and he's about 10 years older than me, and he really loves to hear himself talk or write shit down like he knows everything. So I'm going to title this video is Trump a traitor? That's basically what we heard on the 24 hours in a row yesterday on the mainstream media. And you know, whatever you want to say, maybe shouldn't talk to Putin. Maybe if you're on the left side, you somehow think that he was involved getting him elected. Whatever. That's all, in my mind, that's all bullshit. It makes no sense to me personally. And I've always felt this way about Trump. I don't think he really thought he was going to win. But once he won, he realized that he had to basically do what he said he was going to do. And for the most part, he has. So I came out, actually it was his son that put something out on Facebook, and I responded to it, and I'm not really sure what his preference is. I think that it's possibly that he might be a conservative. I think that he was somewhat defending the president here, and also he wasn't, let's say he was being in the middle ground. He was being more centrist in this. And every time I have a conversation with him, his father has to come in, and he always has to do the other side. And I guess he wants to just get on Facebook and talk about debating about shit like this. And I said it very succinctly what my belief system is, and it's based on my vast experience dealing with people in the intel community, dealing with the leaders of that. And I tried to explain it to him as best as I can. I can't do it as I used to be. I can't write as well as I want to do. But he just continually has to... Right now, he's responded to me again. And he just said that I cut and run after I told him, why would I talk to you when you have no idea what you're talking about? So he's saying, but now he has to respond because he has to have the last word. And this is nothing new. I mean, he's been like this forever. He's a very narcissistic person. And I'm not saying I don't have that trait as well. I like to hear myself talk, even though I can't really talk like I used to. But the point is simply this. Trump won the election. There is a lot of issues out there, and people don't like it. So they're trying to find things to basically make him have no power after 2018 if the Democrats take over some of the Congress. And they already trying to talk about they're going to impeach him before he even was in office. So this is nothing new. But this thing that they just gloss over, that they think that Russia tried to influence the election. Well, that's no shit. They've been doing it forever. And I worked in programs that knew that the Russians were trying to hack into things before. So was China, so was Pakistan, so was Iran, so was Israel. Anybody had the money, they would pay hackers. You could be somebody from a different country that you're hacking, and you don't really are doing it for, let's say for Russia, let's say. It could be a Russian hacker, but he might be doing it for like North Korea, for crying out loud. So I just said, look, Hillary broke rules, broke laws, and probably went to prison, but didn't do it. And most people that are in power don't do this. And I said, people don't understand the power that somebody like Peter Strzok, who was part of the SES, which is almost like having a general or a high colonel, and they have you can't really do anything to them. So they can sit there in Congress and act like a fool, and nothing will happen to them. The worst thing that will happen to them is they'll resign, but it doesn't really matter because these people are going to get paid from leftist organizations anywhere. And I'm somebody who used to be on the left, but this outrage, this moral outrage the last 24 hours, has gone to another level, and basically saying that Trump is a traitor because he didn't say the right things to Putin or didn't call him out. And I got this guy defending the DNC saying, the analogy is that I'm victim blaming because the DNC had their servers hacked by the Russians. And I said in my response, we don't really know 100% that the Russians did it. Although some of the intel agency has pointed to that, there is not enough that there's proof to that. We don't know that until we get these people in and actually talk to them. But of course, he had to say, "Oh, we know that everybody knows this." But regardless, they tried to get into the Republican servers as well, but the Republicans had better software. And this is very simple shit. And I said, the idea, but it has to do anything with Trump. And if it has anything to do with Trump, then it must be nefarious. And it's stupid. And I'm trying to explain to him that you have no idea that I've dealt with these people 16, 17 years ago after 9/11, and right before 9/11. And all those people at the levels like Peter Strzok and all those other people, they are political appointees. And depending on who's ever in office at that time, they put them there to somewhat fudge the intel. And I briefed these people, and they changed things up, and then the rest of the world heard shit that wasn't real. So when I'm sitting in the Air Force having to go through this shit, and I can't talk about it because it's classified, but enough people already understand this, that we sold something that was not right. And I've said before, I want to talk about this to a point and say what we actually did, but we did it for the quote unquote the greater good. Okay. So do I trust somebody like Peter Strzok or the people at that level at the CIA or NSA or FBI or DSI? No, I don't, because they're political appointees. And we know the left right now is dominated, the radical left is dominating the left right now. And their entire agenda since before he was even won the election was to stop Trump. And when all the things failed up to the election, now they're trying to do something else to basically say he has no power. And I don't want to defend Trump. I mean, some of the things he said with Putin probably shouldn't have said. And I've said many times on this channel that I don't like the fact what he does on Twitter all the time, and I don't like him all the time. But this man is not a traitor. He is the closest thing that we have to a patriot that has that type of money, that's trying to do something for the normal man, regardless of race, that we've had in a long fucking time. And when these guys continually, oh, well, you know, it's similar to if it's victim blaming. And I'm like, so basically if going back to like talking to somebody who's been raped, allegedly raped, and I asked him what was going on with that, and the woman says, I can't respond to this because I'm being triggered. And then I said, well, how do I know that she's telling the truth? But I'm victim blaming. And he's like, well, he's talking about people getting killed, and he's put these false analogies out there trying to tell me that it's the same type of thing, when Russia has always been trying to impact our elections. On both sides are trying to do what they have to do. We do the same fucking thing to them. And I think most people in the world understand this. People in the United States understand this. But to sit there and talk to somebody who thinks he's smart, who thinks that he has an idea of what I'm talking about, when I live this shit, I see these people, hell, I might have known these people before. I don't know. But I had to brief these motherfuckers, and I would walk out there, and in the skiff that I was in, this is classified, and none of that shit should leave it. And I tried to explain this to Deb and Tracy years ago about this before the election, saying that Hillary should be in prison for what she did, that people I knew had their careers destroyed, had to serve time. And these people just don't understand that when you talk about treason and shit that's really happened in this country, it happened before Trump ever got into the White House. This idea that Trump has been putting this to shit for the last 15 years to the time he actually goes to run for office, and he has all this shit lined up so that he makes sure he gets in. And it's just so stupid. And the left has been talking about this forever, but 3 or 4 years ago, wasn't it? 5 years ago, when Romney went against Obama, Obama laughed at Romney when he was talking about Russia being the biggest geopolitical foe. But nobody, it's like the video's out there, but no one on the left will say, oh, it doesn't mean anything. And then he gave all that money to fucking Iran. And what we did with Russia or Iran, and it's so, the left and the people, the elites that run the left have just destroyed everything. My faith when it comes to politics, regardless of the side. I don't trust any of them. And I thought that I was pretty clear in my response to this person. And I knew that last night when that first post came out and I responded to it, I just had a feeling he would show up. And of course he's sitting there saying, well, it's something similar to this. I'm like, you have no fucking idea. You have no idea what you're talking about. I said, I have vast experience dealing with people like this. These are not the collectors, not the rank and file of the FBI. Those are mostly conservatives. I'm not saying that's a good thing or a bad thing, but the people that are at the top are appointed by who's ever in charge. And Obama's been in charge was there for 8 years. Clearly, all those people were put in positions to do this like this. And when they thought that maybe that Trump had a chance, they tried to stop it from happening. And it's clear there was bias in the FBI. There's been bias and everything like that. They've been saying that Brennan, who used to be a communist, is basically saying that he wants them to stand up and do something. I'm like, do you want to revolt in this country? It's just, how do you have this conversation with people like this? Because they're going to continually think that, oh, no, you're wrong, and you have no idea what you're talking about. And I was on their side. It doesn't necessarily mean, and I said this in my last response, I said, we can disagree on a lot of things. And at the end of the day, you might be right on some of those things. But you're not right here. You don't have the experience that I have. When people talk about their expertise and whether you're an expert or nothing like this, when it comes to this, I am. I saw it happen. I saw how those people treated people like me. They didn't really care what was in front of them. They just said, okay, well, we'll use that and we'll put it over here. And they would say it out loud, and they'd write that shit down. Then they put it in their fucking briefcase, and they'd leave the skiff. Now, they wouldn't take with the classified shit, but they would leave the fucking skiff and have little talking points what they were going to put up to the next level. These are people that are right below. I'm talking about Rumsfeld, and this all happened under Bush's watch. And I saw all these motherfuckers come in the skiffs that I was in, having a talk to them, and they don't give a shit what I have to say. They're just sitting there talking to each other while I'm presenting what's going on. And I can't really talk about what it is, but it's important to what happened after 9/11. And I was on the left side of that, okay? And I didn't like the conservative or the Republican Party back there because I knew what they were saying was not 100% right. But then I had to step back and say, these guys are supposed to do the right things for the country. And I know enough that there was something in Iraq, okay? That I know. But I can't tell you why we didn't find anything. And that's the biggest thing that I can't really talk about. So this thing it's just so infuriating to me. And I don't even know why I respond to this. Maybe I just was looking for this so I could just respond back to him. Because, the last time I saw him, somebody was getting married. I guess it was my sister. And we had a decent conversation. And then he started responding on Facebook when I just put things out there. And he's responding to everything I have to say. And he's like, well, it could be this or it could be that. And I'm like, no. I said, what are you talking about? I don't know what this guy actually looks at or what he believes, but he has no clue what goes on. And he just sits there with his head in the sand. I don't even want to know where he's going. He's whatever. He's the last person. My mom's dead. His brother's dead. So he's really the only person on that side that I have any not contact with. His kids are okay. Brian, I think, like I said, he's more centrist. His one son, and the other one, I'm not sure. He lives out west. So I think he's more liberal. It's just so crazy to me. But anyway, again, this is the same thing dealing with family when you have ideas that are different than what the mainstream is talking about. What I'm talking about isn't some sort of wrong type thing. It's just, look, this is what's going on. If you believe what the mainstream media is saying, that you think that Trump is a traitor, I'm not going to have this conversation with you because your idea is already believing this shit, that somehow that Trump all along was an agent for Putin. And this is on 24/7. As bad as Obama had it, and I said shit back then about it. Now, I didn't have a YouTube channel, but I didn't like the fact that they were going over Obama over stupid shit. This is 10,000 times worse. He was basically said that he is a puppet for Putin since the day he got into office. And it's just getting worse and worse and worse. But the man still has the balls to go and talk to these guys regardless who they are, no matter what this shit happens. And I've heard things where he gets upset in the Oval Office, especially when they attacked his family. But I guess it's okay now that we can go after his family as well. As much as I don't like his one daughter, who's a feminist, I'm not a big fan with her, but the other people in his family, regardless whether they're Jewish or not, it doesn't really matter at this point. But as being the patriarch of the team, of the family, you're going to get pissed off. And if it was me, I'd get pissed off. And the fact that he somewhat can be civil in person, now he might get on Twitter and say shit. I mean, today he had to come out and basically say, well, I didn't say exactly what I should have said. Who would have thought it wouldn't have been the Russians? He basically said, yeah, everybody would assume that if there's anybody trying to meddle in our elections, it might be the Russians, because they've been doing it since whenever they started forming. This is what they've always done, like we do it to them. This is nothing new. But we're trying to say that's the reason why he got elected. The real truth is this, is about 5 million people voted in this election that were illegal. And I will say of those, probably at least 95% of them voted Democratic. And he still fucking won. I remember that time. There was nobody with any Hillary signs in Florida. Now, he won Florida, but it was under 100,000 votes. It wasn't like, Trump was everywhere. He should have won this state probably by 500,000. In California, which he lost by 3 million or so, clearly illegals voted there. And there's 2 or 3 studies already talking about this. They think about 5 to 6 million people voted illegally. And let's be true, the only person there are illegals that would vote would try to get more benefits from it. And they think that having Hillary in the White House, that they're going to get more benefits from it, because Trump campaigned on deporting people here that were here illegally. Those that have violent felonies. He didn't say they're going to take all of them back. The media just changes, and this is why I was already kind of like going away from the Democratic Party, and I talked about this in my walk away video as well. But they just started, and again, yeah, he went after them and said they're all fake news, and they're talk about having no thin skin. They clearly do, and CNN, it goes so far. And I just know that he's just sitting there watching this shit, and he believes this shit. And when people like Anderson Cooper sit there and say, it was such a disgrace, I've never seen a president do anything like this. I said it to, the first response I said to Brian was simply this. At the end, I said, I wasn't alive in 1963, when Kennedy got killed. And there are a lot of people believe that he was killed by us, that Oswald was a patsy. I'm not saying he didn't shoot him, okay, but he was a patsy, and that apparently that Kennedy wasn't about the war. He was going to get out. He was going to pull everything out, and he was getting upset, the mafia and Robbie and all that shit, that we basically killed him off. When you sit there, when the former CIA director sits there and says basically everybody to stand up and revolt if you live in the if you work in the intel community, and not support the president because the president calls out certain people that had been defamatory to him, like Peter Strzok, Lisa Page, all those, and I'm glad he's doing it. These people need to be accountable. I worry. I seriously worry about this. And there are people that are talking about, well, if there's, they're talking about marching in the streets. Guys I used to watch, like Rachel Maddow, are talking about basically having a revolution because you think that this president is a traitor. I'm tired of this shit. Look, if anything came up that was true, it makes no sense to me, because Trump never thought this was going to happen. And the idea that he was colluding with fucking Russia, it's so stupid. And I wish he could articulate that more, because he talks about it today, like there is no collusion, and he needs to stop talking about that. And I think that Brian was talking about that as well. He shouldn't have been talking about it. But again, the man made the decision. He said that he knew it wasn't politically sound, I guess, to go and talk to Putin. Nobody said he should do that with what's his face from North Korea. I want him to do it. I wanted Obama to do shit like this. We have to talk to people. And to be honest, all I know, I never ever feared Russia, because I think that they were smart enough to know that if they started anything to us, that we would retaliate. And this is not under Khrushchev, and it's not. Even though Putin used to be a KGB officer, and they're talking about, oh yeah, he can figure out how to take the shit out of Trump because he used to be KGB. Well, we've had that before. We had guys that run the CIA that used to be the fucking president, and he was the first Bush that was president. Anyway, I just had to do this to vent this, because I don't want to go back and get on Facebook, and I shouldn't do that anyway. I shouldn't be infiltrating his son's Facebook account. There has to be a point that me and he has to stand up and talk to each other, because I can't stand him anymore. I just can't. I guess if I was going to actually label someone like him, he's a centrist. He waffles back and forth. And if you came that is two, if you said it was two and two or four, he would say, is it really? I mean, oh, it's just infuriating. Please let me know what you think about this. I know I talked way too much. Tell me if you have anybody in your family you have to deal with the same type of shit. When it's clear, regardless of ideology, I said it many times in response, both parties have been involved with shit like this, and we know that Russia doesn't really care who they hack, or any other country doesn't really care. They're trying to get that type of information to somewhat to do against us. That's just, I mean, the intel agency has been doing it forever. And it's like, let's go talk about Russia, but nobody wants to talk about Israel. And Israel's probably the worst of all of them. And I can't really talk any more than that. But anyway, thank you for watching, and we'll talk to you later. Bye.